A woman was slipping drugs into the horse feed every single day. After the horse finished eating all the food, she would run her hands all over its body. One night while she was lost in the moment stroking the horse, her husband caught her red-handed on his way to the bathroom. The man immediately woke her up in anger. But after being exposed, his wife showed no remorse whatsoever. Instead, she lashed out at her crippled husband, saying he was more useless than the horse. After saying this, she shoved the man aside, then marched straight back into the house. Humiliated by his wife, he was furious yet helpless, for the man was a war veteran. A few years back during combat he'd suffered a leg injury. Ever since then his wife had been looking down on him as worthless. But even so, the man never lost his will to live, because he still had this horse that had fought alongside him through life and death. What he didn't know was that someone already had their sights set on his horse. Just moments ago, the village chief's daughter suddenly came down with a terrible illness. Every single doctor in the village was stumped. Left with no choice, he called in the village witch. But when the witch showed up, she said there was nothing she could do either. The chief couldn't just stand by and watch his only daughter die. So he threatened the witch no matter what she had to save his daughter's life. Otherwise she'd be buried alongside her. The witch was scared out of her mind. She had no choice but to reveal one last possible cure. They needed to bribe the Grim Reaper with a cow's head and a horse's head. That way his daughter would live. The chief immediately agreed when he heard his daughter could be saved. But the next second he realized it wasn't going to be that simple. Finding a bull was easy enough. Finding a horse was another matter entirely, because there was only one horse in the entire village at the man's house. But the man treated that horse like family. There was no way in hell he'd agree to sell it. That's when the butcher chimed in, saying all they had to do was kill the man. Then they could do whatever they wanted with the horse. The village chief cursed him a fool. The reason the man was a veteran from the front lines. His records were kept in the town hall. If they killed him, it would definitely bring investigators from town. The butcher started panicking. And the chief wasn't about to just sit there and watch his daughter die either. So he came up with a twisted plan. So the next day they teamed up with the man's wife, planning to secretly get rid of the horse. But just as they were about to make their move, the man suddenly came home. Seeing this scene, the man was absolutely stunned. The village chief didn't expect him back so soon either. So he immediately had the butcher tie the man up, to keep him from interfering with what they were about to do. But the man couldn't bear to watch his warhorse be slaughtered. He begged them to spare it. The village chief refused. He even declared right in front of the man that he wouldn't just take his horse, he would also take his wife as his own. Hearing this, the man exploded with rage. He never imagined his wife had been hooking up with the village chief all along, so he started cursing his wife out. But his wife just called him a worthless piece of trash, saying he couldn't give her the married life she wanted, and that the village chief was 100 times better than him. The man was furious after hearing this, but completely powerless. But he couldn't stand by and watch them slaughter his warhorse, so he quickly said he'd agree to any condition they demanded, as long as they spared the horse. Then the man told them where he kept his property deed. Soon the butcher produced the man's deed in savings. The village chief was thrilled. He never imagined the man would give up everything just for a horse. The man saw the village chief accept the items, asked if they would now spare his warhorse, but the chief started playing dirty. He said he never actually promised the guy anything. Then he told the butcher to get started. The butcher immediately raised his cleaver, and right in front of the man he slaughtered the warhorse. This sent the man into a blind rage. He screamed that they were inhuman, cursing them, saying they'd get what was coming to them. But the butcher got pissed off hearing this, and went ahead and killed the man too. The chief and the woman were horrified. They never thought the butcher would be so ruthless. But what's done was done. All they could do now was figure out how to deal with this mess. So the chief had the woman drag the man's body to the back hill and dispose of it, while they stayed behind to deal with the horse. The woman, desperate to marry the village chief, did as she was told. Soon she dragged the man's body to the back mountain and buried it. Afterward, to celebrate his daughter's recovery, the chief invited the entire village to a feast of horse meat. But just as everyone was enjoying themselves, a horse's whinny echoed through the air. But the village's only horse had already been turned into food. Where could that sound be coming from? The next second, a headless man rode in on the warhorse. This instantly sent a wave of terror through the crowd.